final review packet. Units 10 and 11. Final is Friday. I probably will not get to Unit 12 review, but we just tested on that, so hopefully it's still fresh. Before I do this one, there was a request for Unit 8, number 24. So I want to go back really quick. Unit 8, number 24. I did this. I just don't know if it was with your class or with the other class.
You did it with me.
It was with you guys? So then that means I recorded it?
Maybe it was 26 and 27.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't think you got to 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was in our notes. First thing we did was change that to y. Y equals 4x plus 1 over x. Do you remember what we did next?
Don't you switch the x and y?
Switch the x and y.
I got confused after that.
Okay. And I see y because it had an extra y in there. Okay, so she's saying she got stuck here. If it was just like this, you would subtract the 1, divide the 4, and be good.
You multiply.
We multiply what to the other side?
The y.
The y. So xy equals 4y plus 1. The reason we don't do the reciprocal is because we'll end up with y in the denominator again. Bless you. All right. I want to get y by itself, but there's 2 of them. So the best I can do for now is at least get them to the same side. So I'm going to subtract this 4y. Now, if they didn't have all these extra variables, I would subtract here, but are these like terms? No. So the best I can do is xy minus 4y equals 1. Then we take out a what? A y, because that's what I'm trying to solve for, x minus 4. And then I'm trying to get y by itself, so what would I divide both sides by?
That makes more sense.
Okay, so f inverse of x equals 1 over x minus 4. Did
You make it look so easy when I forgot like this.
Yes. Did I go over with you guys number 26?
No. You do 27 and 28.
Okay. I just want to review 26 because it's a definite need to know for the final. It gives you this complicated function first, and it's complicated and it's purposely done that way, minus 4/3, and they ask you to evaluate f inverse of f of 5.
Oh, great.
And without any work, the answer is 5. Right? You don't have to. Now, if you forget this, you're going to find the inverse. You're going to flip-flop your x and your y, yada, yada. Well, actually, no, you're going to plug in 5 here, get a fraction, and then find the inverse and plug that, and it's going to get really ugly. Do you have to do any of that work? No. What if I wrote it like this? F of f inverse of 5. It's still 5. Now, what if I didn't give you this function, or if I had g? G of g inverse of 100. What's the answer? Do you need to know what the g function is? No, this is just there as a distractor. Yes?
On number 24, this is kind of off topic, but why does xy minus 4y equal 1?
Because we multiplied both sides right here by y. So the y is gone, which is xy equals,
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
yeah, and then we subtracted, and we got xy minus 4y equals 1.
And then you take the y out.
Yes. That one will take a little while. Did you hear what I did with number 13 when I did that one? Yeah, so the same thing. You do P over Q, your plus minus I chart, your high, low, high stuff, and then do synthetic until you find your solutions. Okay? All right, Unit 10. We're ready? All right. What? Questions my morning class had, they had like numbers 1, 2, 3, and then some at the bottom we just did in our head. I went over the high-low stuff. Do you guys want me to kind of just do the same thing? Okay. So the first piece. What unit is this? 10?
Sell my life in me.
What? All right, Unit 10, number 1. I lost it. All right, find the limit as x approaches, oh, we don't need to do number 1, do we? -3 of 2x plus 7 over 3. What do? You just plug it in. I'm not going to do that with you. 2 times -3 plus 7. This is Unit 10. Dominic, will you turn off just one light switch, please? Just the one. All right. Number 2. The limit as x approaches 2, thank you, of x squared plus 2x minus 8 all over x squared minus 4. All right, this one we cannot just plug in because in the denominator, what's 2 times 2? And 4 minus 4? And can you have 0 in the denominator? No, you cannot. So it's not, you do not just plug it in and say, oh, does not exist. Good job. We have to factor first. X plus 2, x minus 2, double bubble at the top. Anybody have that factored?
Plus 4 and 2.
Plus, somebody take my pencil. X plus 4 and x minus 2? And what reduces? So now what do I do with the x plus 4 over x plus 2? We plug it in. So you get 2 plus 4 over 2 plus 2, which is 6 over 4, and you reduce. Yeah. Number 3, no. Number 3, well, we'll see if I have to do. The limit as x approaches 4 of x plus 1 over 2x squared minus 7x minus 4. Now, I'm going to see what happens if I do just plug it in. What's 4 plus 1? Okay, there's nothing wrong there. What's 4 squared? And what's 2 times 16?
Am I missing something? Where'd you get the x plus 1?
Yeah, I had x.
Is it x
cubed
plus?
minus 64.
I don't know where I got that from.
I was so confused. I was like,
I'm sorry. Speak up.
I was not. I was just trying to think if it was just
Thank
me.
you. No, it's just me going too fast. Can you guys see what I did when you look at your paper?
Yeah. Mistake. I mean, what?
It was a mistake. It was number 6. I blended 6 and 3. All right, thank you for catching that. But I'm going to continue with the denominator. 2 times 16 is 32. And then what's 7 times 4? And what's 32 minus 28? And what's 4 take away 4? So can I just plug it in? No. You are going to have to do what first? Factor. Can you guys factor on your own, or do you need review with the cube factoring?
Oh, that's a soap.
It's a SOAP one. 0 over 0 still undefined. Her question was, what if the top is 0? 4 cubed minus 64 is 0. 0 over 0 still undefined. 0 over 0 is not 0, nor 0 over 0, 1. It's undefined. All right. So review factoring, or you guys have got it?
Can you review it?
It's AB, A squared, AB, B squared, same, opposite, always positive. What is A?
Or x.
X. What is B? 4.
Oh, take the third root.
And then, yes, and then you, x squared is x squared. AB is 4x plus 4 squared is 16. And then double bubble. And can I let you guys finish from here? You guys know how to double bubble this, right? The guess and check. And then
Plug it into that whole thing.
do after you do this guess and check, it'll reduce. And then after you reduce, you can just plug it in. Yes.
So why couldn't we plug it in?
And from the get-go, I erased it. It's not up there anymore. Can anybody answer his question? He said, why can't we just plug it in?
The bottom equals 0.
You get 0 in the denominator.
Oh.
And the top. And the question was that okay? No. 0 over 0 is still undefined.
Can you do the double bubbling for the
Here is what I like. 2x times x is x squared. Yes or no?
Yeah.
With 1 and 4, I could only use 1 and 4 or 2 and 2. Why would I not waste my time with 2 and 2?
Because it's not one of the options.
Not only is it not one of the, you're right, and I like that tool as well. It's not one of these up here we know we're going to reduce. As well as, should I make a guess that gives me a GCF? No. So 1 and 4, can I put the 4 here? No. So 1 and 4, I'm going to guess minus and plus because of that minus. Positive 1, negative 8, does it give me the negative 7? And it is. And then you plug in. This doesn't reduce, it shouldn't reduce, and even if it does, you don't have to because you're just going to plug in 4. 4 squared plus 4 times 4 plus 16 over 2 times 4 plus 1. You can do that on your own. Questions on that one? All right. What? 16 plus 16 plus 16. Oh, I heard 16 plus 16 is 16. That's why I said what? All right. Okay, 4, 5, and 5. 4, 5, and 5. 4, 5, and 6. What do they all have in common? Infinity. All right, I'm going to put the notes up. This is lesson 10-2 if you want to write it down. I had a few kids in my morning class just take a quick picture, but it is in your notebooks. All of this stuff is in your notes. Top heavy, bottom heavy, or the same. This was back in lesson 2, second day, 10-2. When it's top heavy, okay, plus or minus infinity, it does not matter.
What is this applying to?
This is applying to the limit when x is approaching infinity, which are numbers 4, 5, and 6. They're all approaching infinity. Does it matter if it's positive or negative? No. So these are the shortcuts. Top heavy, no work, it's automatically what?
Does not exist.
Does not
Is
exist.
it because it's infinitely a large number? Because if you plug it in infinity and it's top heavy, wouldn't... So why does it not exist? That's my question.
It's none, there is not. You could put none as well.
Well, like, why does it not exist?
Is
it possible? Or?
No, we've had different ones when... I'll have to show you a picture. Let me get through this and I'll show you a picture. All right, bottom heavy is what? 0. And I don't know if I had it all in the screen when you guys took the pictures, but there's the same degree. Same degree is you take the leading coefficients of top and the bottom. Got it? Yes?
And then you get a fraction from that, right?
What was that?
You get a fraction from that, right?
Yes. Yeah, so it'd be like 2 over 1 or 1 over 2 or something.
That's the answer?
Yes. All right. Okay, so let's just do those 3 super quick. Number 4, the limits as x approaches infinity. Is this top heavy, bottom heavy, or the same? Same, so what's the answer? 4 over 3. This one, top heavy, bottom heavy, are the same. Which means what?
It doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist. And this one?
0.
It's bottom heavy, so it is 0. And somebody asked, do we need work there? No. If you know your shortcut, you do not. We actually... What is what? Leading coefficients. Do you want me to show you one more time?
Yeah, I get it.
You got it?
Yes.
Now, really quick, there was math that we did to it initially. We did this, you guys, we didn't do it again, but we divided everything by the leading or by the highest degree and then reduced. It took us a while, so do we do this way anymore? No. So if you know the shortcut, there's no work, you just know the shortcut. All right. Numbers.
Is there a time
Can you do one of them, just to,
One of the what?
one of the infinity ones?
I did. We did them all.
That's where my,
Okay. What was the answer for number 1?
4?
Because it was the same. The answer for number 5
Does not exist.
does not exist because it is top heavy. And for number 6,
It is
0 because it's bottom heavy. Excuse me, it's this right here.
no, I just,
All right. What I did in my morning class is we did, I think, 1 or 2 from up here, then I definitely went over one of the graphing ones. Yes? Okay. Vaha and Sa. I'm going to show you that piece as well. All right. So here's another quick review. This is lesson 10-3. Lesson 10.3, how to find the vertical asymptote. It's in a red bubble. If you took notes, you should have had yours in a bubble. It's there. It's easy to see. How do we find the vertical asymptote?
What makes the denominator 0?
What makes the denominator 0? So you factor and solve. How to find your horizontal asymptote? Is that where we use the shortcut top heavy, bottom heavy, same? Yes. The only one I don't have here because we did it later in the notes is the slant, the saw. But if you flip through your notes, it's right here. How do you do slant? Long division, and that's lesson 10.5. All right? So it's in your notes. How many of you guys have your notes all together and have been able to use them to study? Like all in one? Okay. All right. We're good? So with that being said, let's move on in our packet. Which one shall we do? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12? I do want to do 10 and 11. So besides 10 and 11, any other ones?
On which one?
The first 7 through 12.
Is there any other one you would recommend?
No. Do you want me to just do 7? F of x equals x squared plus 6x plus 5 over x squared minus 1. And I factor to see.
Wait, isn't there a certain thing, like, if it has a slant asymptote or not?
Yes, it only has a slant if it's top heavy. Does this top heavy? No, so the slant, there will be no slant. It only has a slant if what? Top heavy, which it's not. Yes. All right, so let's factor x plus 1, x minus 1. And this is a double bubble. What does it factor to? Plus 5 and plus 1. Does anything reduce?
X plus 1, x plus 1.
Now, does the reducing affect my Vaha or Saw? It doesn't affect, okay.
It affects your...
Domain. They didn't ask for the domain, but it affects, okay, I'm saying it wrong.
Okay, well...
I find the domain
It
first.
affects your bond, because it's not the same.
Right. So, I guess, let me reword it. What do I use for the Vaha Saw? The original or the reduced? Reduced. Sorry for the confusion. It didn't ask for domain, so I'm going to cross it out. So what's your vertical? What makes the bottom 0?
1.
X equals 1. Horizontal. Limit as x approaches infinity. Is it top heavy, bottom heavy, or the same? So you take leading coefficients. Y, don't forget your y. Y equals 1. And that's it with the problem. Now, we didn't have to graph this, but if we did, what would the crossing out reducing do when you reduce an x? There's a hole in your graph. You would have a hole at x equals negative 1.
So how would you write the domain for that one?
Your domain would have been all real such that x cannot equal negative 1 or positive 1, which is why you would have a hole at the negative 1, because x cannot equal that number, but when you graphed it, it would have come out.
Wait, why can't it equal negative?
Right here,
Like the bottom.
yeah, because we would find the domain before we reduced.
Oh, okay.
So domain was the only thing we did in the beginning. All right, so questions on that one?
So we just have to find it.
Yes, so for 7, it was just the Vaha Saw. All right, number,
Oh, that's it for a whole
yep. Number 10, f of x equals x squared plus x over x. What do we do first in the numerator? Factor. Thank you. Who whispered that? Was that Darren?
Yeah.
And then you have x plus 1 over x. Does anything reduce? What does that leave you with? All right. Does anybody, we've gone over this before. Good job. Say it again.
There's nothing.
For all of them.
Yeah.
And I made a big deal about this on the morning review. We did it quite a few times. Does anybody remember why? Because it's linear. More specifically, because there's no what at the bottom.
Denominator.
There's no variable in your denominator. If you have no variable in your denominator, what are they all?
Wait, but doesn't it have a slant though? Isn't the slant?
Remember, you find Vaha Saw after you reduce.
Oh, okay.
And after you reduce, there's no long division. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so what are they all?
None.
None. So looking at number 11, no reducing needed, and it is a fraction, but why is everything still none? Because there's no variable in the denominator.
Like several of those problems. Yeah.
All right.
So when there's no variable at the bottom, it's automatically.
Right. You just have to be careful because this one's easy to see and say, oh, none. Where you look and you're like, oh, there's a variable. They can't all be none, but you have to pause yourself and say, oh, if I factor, there's no variable in the bottom, in the denominator.
The final's all multiple choice.
Yes. 50 questions, multiple choice.
Thank God. Thank the Lord.
All right. Are we good with number 10?
I'm gonna be so mad with Common Core, like a phrase. It's like, no, you're gonna have to write it down.
We will have graduated by then.
That was cute. Did he say, are we still in Common Core? Is that what he said? Well, there's still Common Core still exists. This class was around before Common Core and it really didn't impact advanced math. So you're done with the Common Core series of 1, 2, 3.
I feel like it's all been the same. Like I don't see a difference between like the learning like practice between this class and like math. Maybe you explain a lot more. I don't remember that. Yeah, like they used to make us like like how to make it like explain. It's like there's my word. There's math FR.
All right.
Are you gonna show us
How to find the what?
the slant?
Yeah, number 15.
Number 8, isn't it talking about 2?
Yes, but number 8 doesn't ask you to graph, and I wanted to do one that graphs. All right, 15. 15 wants us to graph, so now we're doing all the bits and pieces. X squared plus 2x minus 15 over x plus 3. Va, ha, sa, x-intercept, y-intercept. We can find domain. It isn't, we really, I mean,
Okay, I just, whatever. It's just
okay. Factor first. Minus 3 plus 5. Who gave me that? Dominic? Good job. And then x plus 3. Does anything reduce?
You can take a negative out of the top, can't
I can't. X minus 3 and 3 minus x I could, but x minus 3 and x plus 3, they're not opposites. All right. Domain, all reals where x does not equal. Nothing reduces, so am I going to have any holes? Vertical, x equals negative 3. Horizontal, top heavy, bottom heavy are the same. So none or D and E, it's up to you.
Oh no.
Slant, how do we find the slant?
Long division.
X squared plus 2x minus 15. Remember, when you do this piece should come out to be a linear function like y equals mx plus b, and we don't care about the remainder. X times what is x squared? X squared plus 3x. X times what is, oh, sorry, didn't change my signs. Change and change, gone. What's 2x minus 3x? Negative x minus 15. X times what is negative x? Negative 1. That's negative x minus 3. Change and change. This is going to be my remainder. Do I need to worry about it?
No, you don't.
So this is it. So it's not just x minus 1, it's y equals x minus 1.
So for the vertical asymptote, it's also the same as the domain then?
Unless you reduced. But if there's no reducing, then yes. He asked the domain and vertical will always be the same. If there's no reducing, yes.
And you get the vertical asymptote from the
Denominator.
denominator
After, right, which is why they would not be the same if you did reduce.
If it wasn't top heavy, if it was even, what would the horizontal asymptote look like? Or
If it wasn't, you would do the limit as x approaches infinity. So you would either take the leading coefficients if it was the same, or 0 if it was bottom heavy.
since it's top heavy, it doesn't exist because
Correct.
of the infinity?
Because of the top, because it's top heavy, the question you asked earlier. All right, yes.
So you only have a slant when the horizontal is not correct?
Correct. So you only have a slant when it's top heavy, and when it's top heavy, horizontal is always going to be none. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. And whenever you have a horizontal, that means slant is none. You never have these two at the same time. All right, x-intercepts, you make the equation equal to 0. When you set that equal to 0, what do you multiply both sides by?
X.
And when you do that, what happens to the x plus 3? It's gone. You're left with that.
Oh, and then it's
Positive 3 and negative 5. All right, y-intercept, you plug in 0. It's easier for me to plug in here 0, 0 minus 15, 0 plus 3. Do you guys see how that worked? 0, 0 minus 15, 0 plus 3. Negative 15 over 3 is negative 5.
This one was we want to write out like if we had x equals negative 3 and x equals 2. Can you write them just beside each other, or did you have to put the x equals twice?
Up here you would have to put the x equals twice, not down there. And technically it doesn't matter on the test because the test is multiple choice. They're going to give you a bunch of graphs and you just have to match it. Mrs. Torres, yes.
Did we graph the sine and cosine lines this year, or was that last?
That was last year. We did the law of sines and the law of cosines, but there was no graphing of the sine and cosines or the unit circle. All right.
Oh, there's unit circle?
No, no, no. Nor did we do the unit circle. All right. Horizontal. I want to review with the horizontal the whole same direction, opposite direction. Where did I get this negative? Where did I get the vertical asymptote from? Numerator or denominator? Denominator. What's the multiplicity right here? What's the multiplicity in the denominator? 1. So since the multiplicity is 1, we say that is odd, which means opposite direction, either going like this.
I completely forgot about that.
Okay, so that's a good thing we're going over. All right, slant. Do you agree x minus 1 has a y-intercept of negative 1 and a slope of positive 1?
Yes.
All right, x-intercepts are positive 3 and negative 5, and y-intercept is negative 5. All right.
So it's negative 5 because...
Which one, intercept y or x? You plugged in 0, 0 minus 15, and 0 plus 3. Or here, negative 3 times 5 over 3. All right. Do you guys see that there's a left half and a right half? We always look at left and right. There's always going to be a top and a bottom. Sometimes the top and bottom is like perpendicular when you have a horizontal, but when it's slant, it's slanted. Which piece is bigger, the top or the bottom? Do you see that the top is bigger? All right. Can you have a graph up in the top and on the bottom? No, because it won't be a function. It's either all up in the bigger section or all in the bottom section. And what do you use to figure it out? Your dots. So is it all at the top or all at the bottom? Top, because I have an x-intercept. If that x-intercept was not there, it would be all at the bottom. All right, so I do this, and I'm approaching both of my asymptotes. I'm approaching up here, and over time I'm approaching towards this dotted one as well. All right. Odd means same direction or opposite direction. So I'm down here, and what else tells me that I'm down here? The intercepts, do you see that? Again, same thing. Over time, it's getting closer and closer to that asymptote. Graphs will be provided, you just have to match.
This looks so
Right, so I'm going to, it's going to give you a bunch of them. You kind of do this quickly, figure out what it looks like, and then go from there. Questions? Do you want me to do one that's bottom heavy? Maybe not, because we're running out of time. A bottom heavy is the one where you had to do test values. Not test values, but plug in to see if it was bottom or top. Do you want me to just at least talk about it really quick?
Yeah.
Okay, what number is, would that be for 14? F of x equals x plus 1 over x squared plus 6x plus 5. Does that factor and reduce? Does it?
Yeah, x plus 1 is
What does it, let's see, x plus 1, it's still bottom heavy though. X plus 5, x plus 1, so this is good because we're getting two pieces. All right, 1 over x plus 5. Domain, all reals, x cannot equal what two numbers before I reduced? Va, x actually does only equal negative 5, so is there going to be a hole? Question. Ha, top heavy, bottom heavy are the same. Bottom, which means it's what?
0.
0. And is it just 0 or y equals 0? Saw, it only happens if it's top heavy, so it is none. X-intercept, set the equation equal to 0. When I do that and I cross out the bottom, are there any x-intercepts? No, I'm left with 1 equals 0. Is that going to work? No. Y-intercept, you plug in 0 for your x. 1 over 0 plus 5 is what? 1/5.
Oh, I remember.
All right, so vertical is x equals negative 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now remember the odd even. Where did you get the x equals negative 5 from? The denominator, what's the multiplicity? 1, that means it is odd, opposite direction. And I did forget to bring up over here, your x-intercept was the 3 and the negative 5, and both the multiplicities were 1, which means they were both crosses. If they were squared, you would have a what? A bounce. Don't forget that. Okay. Y-intercept is 1/5. I have no x-intercepts. Oh, and this is also an asymptote right here. Do you guys agree? It's a little harder to see, but it is there. Okay, so let me just put them in. We have a left side and a right side. Do you see that? And since there are no x-intercepts, and even if there were, actually it would be harder if there were x-intercepts. I can't use x-intercepts as a guide because my asymptote is on the x-axis. So it's either going to be top or bottom. What do I do to figure out whether it's top or bottom?
You get test values.
We do a test value. We plug in a value to the left of negative 5. What value could we plug in?
Negative 6.
Negative 6. 1 over negative 6 plus 5. Positive or negative? Do you agree? And top half or bottom half? You guys said it came out to be a negative, so it's all at the bottom. And that you could have in this case, but when there's multiple asymptotes, sometimes it makes it a little harder. Okay, so what opposite direction? She said, well, I could know that that's a top because of this here
On that particular problem.
on this particular problem.
But let's figure out the test.
Right. Okay, we're good?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a look then at Unit 11. In the last few minutes that we have, we'll go over that. Unit,
Do we have to do Unit 12?
you do have to do Unit 12. Okay, Unit 11, questions. The ones I did in my morning class were 1 and 6.
Yeah, do those.
Okay, 1, y equals negative 1 over 20, x minus 3 squared plus 4. And I'll go as fast as I can. What's the shape because there's only one squared? Parabola. So there's a, it is a quadratic. The vertex, line of symmetry, focus, and directrix. These two are ordered pairs, the focus and the vertex. The LOS and directrix are both lines. All right, opposite, same, we're nice. What's the vertex? It's in the nice form, the vertex form.
3, 4.
3, 4? All right, which direction is the parabola opening? Because it's negative and it's x squared, if it was y squared, it'd be opening to the left. But since it's x squared, it is opening down.
There's so much shit on
I know. It was around this point where well, actually it was on the graphing where my morning class said what you just said.
Is this the focus and director circle?
So over 3, up 4, yes or no? And you guys said it's opening in which direction? Down like a frown. And it is really wide. You don't need to know that for the test. Actually, probably wider than what I made it.
Wait, isn't that the eccentricity?
No, that's for an ellipse. You would look here. The absolute value of this is positive 1 over 20, and it's smaller than 1. And a number smaller than 1 is wide. You don't need to know that, so just ignore it.
Oh, we don't need to know?
Not the wide, thin, and normal, no. You need to know that it's opening down. That's it. Okay. What is this line of symmetry? Okay, I had a few kids kick. First off, I'm not going to ask you a question on the test with all of this. I may just give you this, and ask for the LOS. Do you need, some kids say, well, we have to do all of it. Do you? What is the LOS? Opposite of the inside, x is 3. What if the inside was y minus 3? What would your LOS be? Instead of x equals, it would be y equals 3. It's still the opposite. You just have to match your letter. Make sense?
Yes.
All right. Focus and directrix. We first have to find the focal length, which is 1 over 4 absolute value of A. 1 over 4 times, what's the absolute value of A? 1/20th, which is 4 over 20. 1 over, what is that, 1/5? Multiply by the reciprocal. What does C equal? What are you going to do for the focus? From the vertex, up 5 or down 5? Down. Is it always down or always inside?
It's neither. It depends on which way it's opening.
It depends on which way it's opening, right? So it's not always down, but you always go to wherever it's inside, yes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is that ordered pair? 3, -1. Directrix, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I marked it wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4. I did. I did not count properly. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what is that? What line is that? It's horizontal, so y equals what? 9. Okay. Now, for those of you that are like, I need to go as fast as I can on the final, I don't want to do all this, could you look at your vertex? It's here, what was it, 3, 4? And when you go up and down, what's changing, the x or the y? So it's 4 plus 5 and 4 minus 5. What's 4 plus 5? What's 4 minus 5? You just have to figure out which number goes where. All right. Questions before I move on to number 6? Y plus 3 squared over 4 minus x plus 2 squared over 16 equals 1. Is it 38 that we're out of here?
The bells are lit because they have to change it. So they're a couple minutes late.
Okay. Okay. Listening. I think they're in the back there. Guys, there's double squared, which means it's not a parabola.
Oh, wait. And then,
Minus, so it means it's a hyperbola.
oh, shit.
An ellipse would have been a plus sign. A circle, these two numbers would have been the same with the plus sign. All right. I know. What do we say again? Hyperbola. Now these are the ones that are either right and left or up and down. How can you tell?
Is it which one's bigger?
Which one comes first? So if y comes first, it is up and down. Yes?
Yeah.
All right. Now I heard you ask a question, something about an ellipse.
Oh yeah, I said that's not.
Okay, you got, yeah, it's not an ellipse. Okay. Center.
That's minus 2.
Negative, be careful, good job, I didn't trick you. A lot of kids say, oh, -3, -2, then it's all wrong. Okay. Vertices, and I'm probably not going to have time for everything else. Can I do LOS with you guys really quick? All right, 2 things you need for your LOS. A point, and what point do we always use? The slope, and the slope is rise over run. How far are you going up and down? 2. How far are you going right and left? 4, and it's plus or minus, so it's 1 over 2. So it's y, what's the rest? Because when we draw our asymptotes, we have 2 of them, plus and minus. Y plus 3 equals plus or minus 1/2 x plus 2. Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
All right. That's all we really have time for, but I just want to show you really quick. You know when you guys do this, 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 and then you draw your asymptotes? These are your vertices right there. Your vertices are wherever your graphs are. Thank you. Got it? Next time.